So I'm Nina Matson, and I am your MC for tonight. Um, First of all, I would like to send out greetings from the city of Northfield. Like I said before, my name is Nina Matson, and I am one of the Human Rights Commissioners for the city of Northfield. And I would like to introduce to you, if she is now ready, our mayor, Rhonda Pownell.
All right. Can everyone hear me? Yes. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight to both honor and remember the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you so much to the Human Rights Commission members, Veronica Gamino, Linda Larson, Marval de Cantos, Jonathan Woodyard, Barb Bornson, Abdullahi, Gonzalez Marron, Jenny Eubank, Nina Matson, Larry Fowler, Rigoberto Lazaro, our youth members, Joseph Bravo, Grant Bogan, Ella Meyer, Lee Pinnock, and our program coordinator, Beth Kalistad, for putting together this evening's event to honor Dr. King. Do we want to pause to just have anyone mute their microphones?
Si están escuchando, recuerden poner en apagado sus micrófonos para que se pueda escuchar si no se escucha el sonido de cada casa. Si pueden apagar el sonido en sus teléfonos o computadoras, tabletas.
All right, Beth, Ms. Kalistad, could you ensure that everyone is muted that's not talking? I'm not sure if you have that ability.
Yeah, I think I got it now.
Okay, all right, awesome. The city of Norfield, I want to just continue on with my comments here tonight, and I'm not sure if you heard all of that, but just want to ensure that just thanking Program Coordinator Beth Kalistad for putting together this evening's event to honor Dr. King, along with all of our Human Rights Commission members. The city of Northfield was established in 1856 after the indigenous Wapakute and other bands of Dakota Nation of this region were removed from the lands upon which they had lived. We, the city of Northfield, aspire to be an open, safe, and welcoming community for all people. We do this in part by not only relationship building with people who are different than us, but also by telling the full history of our community. As we acknowledge the history and peoples who originally and still do inhabit and steward this land, it is a step toward telling the full history and healing of wrongs committed. The official City of Northfield Land Acknowledgement Statement is the beginning of efforts by the city and community to build and repair relationships with the Wapakute and other tribal communities. The statement reads, "We stand on the homelands of the Wapakute and other bands of the Dakota Nation. We honor with gratitude the people who have stewarded the land throughout the generations and their ongoing contributions to this region. We acknowledge the ongoing injustices that we have committed against the Dakota Nation, and we wish to interrupt this legacy, beginning with acts of healing and honest storytelling about this place." The words in this statement, we, and honor, gratitude, steward, generations, contributions, acknowledge, injustices, healing, honest, storytelling. All the words in this statement were carefully chosen and together are very powerful. Tonight, I'd like to focus the remainder of my comments on the importance of our words, actions, and tone. We have come through a very contentious time in our country. It's clear we have work to do to bridge the divide and find common ground. We each have the ability to make our voice known instantly and sometimes stoke the fires of divisiveness with people all across the country like no other time in our history. The negative sells papers and garners likes and clicks, but can harm relationships with friends and neighbors and ultimately our local community. Tone matters. Words and actions, they matter. We need to be able to work with people all across the community if we are to build a stronger, better Northfield. Perhaps, like many of you, I have spoken too quickly and in frustration at times. I own that. As we are seeing the fallout,
I would hang up there. I'm on now.
as we are seeing the fallout from being quick to speak rather than quick to listen, I am making a renewed commitment, and I hope that you will join me in the following 4 ways. First, to act with humility rather than pride and arrogance, the kind of humility that puts others' needs above my own. Dr. King stated, 10,000 fools proclaim themselves into obscurity, while one wise man forgets himself into immortality. Secondly, to build relationships with others that have a different lived experience from my own, not to somehow enlighten the other person, but to build a truly caring relationship. The kind of deep relationship that rejoices when the other rejoices and feels pain when the other feels pain. As Dr. King said, people fail to get along because they fear each other. And they fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. Thirdly, to practice deep listening, the kind of listening that seeks to understand rather than to be understood. And lastly, to make room and hold space for different viewpoints and perspectives in order to keep the conversation open and thereby building a bridge and the opportunity to learn together and find common ground. As we work together over the next year to eradicate racism, inequality, and prejudice, to bring forth lasting positive change and to build a stronger, better community, let us lead with deep listening, relationship building, humility, and making room for others. Thank you.
I'm going to translate. La traducción no completa, pero casi todo lo que se dijo empezó la alcaldesa de Northfield, Rhonda Pownell, haciendo un llamado a honrar la memoria del doctor Martin Luther King Jr. y un agradecimiento a la Comisión de Derechos Humanos, tanto los miembros adultos como los jóvenes, y la coordinadora de la ciudad para la Comisión Beth Calestad por organizar este evento esta noche. Y la alcaldesa empezó diciendo que la ciudad de Norfield se construyó y se creó en el año 1856, justo después de la guerra contra las comunidades indígenas, contra los Dakotas y la expulsión de la gente de estas tierras, entre ellos los Wakepute, que era una banda de Dakota aquí. Y ella ha dicho que es muy importante seguir construyendo relaciones, seguir hablando de la historia completa que ha ocurrido aquí, y pasó a leer la declaración que se aprobó en la ciudad de Northfield para a las personas nativas de las bandas de Dakota, como los Wakepute, que vivían en esta región. Y básicamente esta declaración, que ya muchos de ustedes ya conocen, es honrar las personas que eran las personas que son de esta tierra, las personas de las bandas de diferentes grupos de los Dakota, y sabemos que se han cometido muchas injusticias y queremos interrumpir ese legado y hacer una historia honesta y completa de toda esta región, y para así que se haga una sanación de los daños que se hicieron. Y recordando todo lo que está ocurriendo en este país con la división que estamos experimentando entre los diferentes grupos, hay que tener en cuenta que lo que hacemos, las palabras que usamos, tienen mucho peso, tienen mucha fuerza, y tenemos que intentar todos trabajar unidos y encontrar esas formas de hablarnos. Y dice que tendríamos que hacer 4 cosas diferentes basadas en la inspiración de Martin Luther King Jr. Y es actuar con humildad, saber que a veces hacemos las cosas mal, sabemos que tenemos que anteponer las necesidades de las otras personas a las necesidades propias y ayudar. Una segunda característica sería construir relaciones que sean profundas y empáticas, profunda, y como cuarta sería hacer espacio para otros puntos de vista que son diferentes a los nuestros propios. Y haciendo todas estas cosas, esperemos que en este año consigamos erradicar el racismo y construir una comunidad más fuerte entre todos. Gracias.
And now, Beth, if it's okay, would you like me to introduce the opening song?
Yes, please.
Okay, so our opening song is Amazing Grace. You'll be hearing a recording sung by Audrey Lane Gaitas.
Nuestra canción con la que vamos a empezar es Amazing Grace y la canta Audrey Lane Gaitas.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Beth, this is Nina, and I just have to ask, Audrey, is she, can you tell a little bit more about the singer?
I'm actually going to ask Betsy if she would like to unmute and go ahead and tell us a little bit more. What I know of Audrey is that she is a recent grad of Northfield High School and a St. Olaf student at the moment.
Wow.
Betsy's from one of her moms.
What a beautiful voice. So then up next, I guess we're just going to keep rolling through the presentation. I would like to introduce to you another member of the Human Rights Commission, Barbara Warnson.
Thank you, Nina. Everyone can hear me? You know, the Human Rights Award was established to grant recognition to an area individual, group, or organization that has contributed to the advancement of human rights in Northfield. And this reminded me of a quote by Dr. King, which is from 1963, his book, Strength to Love. And I'm going to change the pronouns because remember, this was 1963, so you'll pick it up. The ultimate measure of a man or a woman is not where he or she stands in moments of convenience and comfort, but where he or she stands at times of challenge and controversy. Given the unprecedented year of challenges and controversy, it was difficult for the commission to select a single recipient for this award. So after much deliberation, we did select one awardee, but I would like to honor the other two nominees too. First, I will introduce our Human Rights Award awardee, Rama Abdullah. Can you put your camera on, Rama?
Yeah.
Rama is a senior at Norfield.
Barbara, can I just translate?
Please, thank you for interrupting.
Tenemos un premio de derechos humanos que damos cada año a una persona. Este año teníamos 3 personas en mente y fue muy difícil escoger. Al último sí escogimos, pero queremos honrar a las tres entidades. Entonces empezamos con la persona a quien sí le damos el premio, a Rama Abdullah.
Thank you. So Rama is a senior at Northfield High School, and she has been an advocate for human rights since she was only a freshman. She's quite the activist. In addition to serving as a co-president of the Black Student Union in Northfield, she has also spoken at and been involved with various civic groups. She participated in the Say Their Names and the Black Lives Matters on Monday nights following the murder of George Floyd. She organized a donation drive for the citizens who lived in the area where George Floyd was murdered, and therefore there were a lot of violence and disruptions. And these donations included food and first aid items. And it is, I will tell you, so gratifying to someone who was protesting in the 1960s to see that mantle taken up by the young people today. So Rama, I wanted to ask you, how did you become interested in this activism?
Well, thank you so much for the award. I'm so honored to receive this. I became involved in activism when I joined the Black Students Union at the high school. When I joined the club, I also became an activist because being a part of something like the Black Students Union at a predominantly white school caused so much uneasiness and discomfort. It was my first act of activism. The Black Student Union has persisted. In recent previous years, we held educational panels for high school students during the Black History Month, discussing important topics of race and Black history, such as the use of the N-word, police brutality, the Confederate flag, etc. We also discussed with school administrators to work towards more inclusive school history curriculum. We worked to give Black students at Norfield High School a common space and to educate our peers. And that's how I kind of got involved with it.
I was muted. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Can you tell me a little bit more about your project with the autonomous zone?
Oh yeah, with the donations. It's something I did alongside with Leah Enteman. She works in New York now, but we held the donation drive and then we drove it up to Minneapolis, and so many people in Norfield donated, which we're so thankful for.
You know, I'm going to let Ronnie or Mar translate.
Ok, lo hago yo, Ronnie. Sí, ok. Barbara, que es la directora ahora mismo de la Comisión de Derechos Humanos, le preguntaba a Rama Abdullah, que ella es la que ha recibido el premio de los derechos humanos de este año, que cómo es que ella se ha convertido en esta activista y en una persona que está luchando por los derechos de las personas de raza negra. Y Rama compartió que además de estar en el último año en el high school, de haber trabajado desde que entró en el high school, de haber participado en las protestas y de haber hecho donaciones a la zona donde se asesinó este mayo pasado a George Floyd en Minneapolis. Mandó donaciones de Northfield de comida, ropa, las cosas que necesitaban en ese barrio. Pues ella, todo el activismo le empezó cuando se unió a un grupo que existe ahora en el high school aquí de Norfield, que le llaman el Sindicato de los Estudiantes Negros. Y este es un grupo de personas de raza negra que se han unido en esta organización. Además es algo muy valiente porque es una escuela de casi toda gente blanca. Entonces ahí empezó a hacer este trabajo que están haciendo discusiones de por qué no se tiene que usar la palabra que empieza con N, que es una palabra despectiva en inglés a las personas de raza negra, por qué no se puede usar la bandera de los confederados, que también es un símbolo de odio y de racismo, cómo crear un espacio mejor para la gente de raza negra en una cultura tan blanca, y también cómo hacer que el currículum que se enseña en las escuelas tenga más contenidos que reflejan lo que ocurre con las personas de raza negra en este país. Así que por eso ha sido ella una activista increíble en todos estos años de su trabajo en el high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Rama, I'm going to ask you one more question before I let you go. What are your plans for after graduation?
Well, I just got accepted into McAllister College, so that's where I plan on going after high school. Yeah, I'm hoping to work in international studies, international relations, or like poli-sci, something like
that's
that.
wonderful. Well, I'm glad you're going to be close by.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rama, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And now I want to introduce Jen Bariantos. Jen, are you here? Can you turn on your camera? Hi, Jen.
Hi, everybody.
Jen has worked in many different capacities through the Healthy Community Initiative, HCI. She's currently the director of the Growing Up Healthy program. Her activism has been focused on neighborhood-based approaches, so with particularly the Latinx community. Under her leadership, more than 30 Latinx families have participated in a home energy visit last year. And this past year, she also helped to implement training to encourage Latinx involvement in the democratic process, voting, and leadership training. Jennifer is doing the grassroots work with Northfield neighborhoods, one family at a time, one neighborhood at a time. Thank you so much. And before I ask you some questions, I'm going to let our folks translate.
Hola, queremos traducir a Jen Bariantos, que fue una de las personas que consideramos para el Premio de Derechos Humanos. Ella ha trabajado en muchos proyectos aquí en Northfield, ayudando a las familias con un programa de energía y también educando familias para que participaran en el proceso democrático. Ella está ayudando a familias, una familia a la vez, y pues estamos agradecidos de tenerla aquí en Northfield. Go ahead, Jen.
Jen, thank you, Ronnie. Jen, how did you become interested in this sort of grassroots community activism?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Rama. Congratulations, very well deserved award for you. You are amazing and an inspiration. And then to answer the question, you know, this is kind of something that I've always kind of learned from my family and done. I've liked to help people whenever I can, whether it's like translating or, you know, wherever I can. It's been kind of like installed in me through the family. And also I've seen the struggles firsthand from my parents and everything they've gone through. So when the job opening came up with Growing Up Healthy, it's like, it was a good chance for me to be able to do a little bit more.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What do you find most fulfilling in your work? Because you wear so many hats.
Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, I know the struggles firsthand from my family. So just knowing that I can help other families, whether it's with resources or just the support that they need with the language, or that to me is very fulfilling.
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight and for letting us recognize you. And thank you so much for all the work you do. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Would you like to translate before we go on?
Sure. Jennifer, lo que le preguntaban es cómo empezó todo este trabajo de ayudar a la comunidad y de trabajar en los barrios. Y Jennifer lo que dice es que ella lo aprendió directamente de su propia familia, viendo la lucha y los esfuerzos y los obstáculos que tuvo que sufrir su familia. Le ha dado una visión muy importante de cómo ayudar a otros. Y es algo que en su familia siempre le han dicho, que siempre le han enseñado con el ejemplo de ellos, siempre ayudar, cómo ayudar a las otras personas en cualquier necesidad que tengan, sea traducir con el idioma o otras necesidades. Así que eso lo ha vivido ella desde pequeña y está muy feliz de poder hacer ese trabajo.
Thank you. And our last nominee that we want to recognize tonight is the Say Their Names Northfield, which I think many of us saw the names that they have written on the sidewalks with chalk of Black martyrs who have been murdered through white supremacy. Cecilia Cornelio is the spokesperson, but I know she has something planned for us, so I will turn it over to you.
También queremos honrar al último grupo que habíamos nominado, el grupo de Say Their Names, que han hecho mucho trabajo aquí en Northfield y tienen una presentación especial, queremos pasárselo a ellos.
Cecilia? Cecilia, are you muted?
I was trying to unmute myself, and now I am. So,
good. Okay.
Okay. Well, congratulations to Rama and to Jennifer, and hello to everyone. Say Their Names is a loosely organized group of people living in Northfield who came together soon after the killing of George Floyd. Our goal was and continues to be to exercise our civic right to denounce the racist system that allows and enables the loss of Black lives in America. Since June of 2020, we have held 20 interventions at Bridge Square, during which we use chalk to write and rewrite the names of Black individuals killed by police over the years. We know that this gesture cannot replace the many actions needed to combat systemic racism and the role it plays in our own lives, but it's a way of making the loss of life visible while disrupting a sense of comfort based on the obliteration of people's pains.
The
And
energy was...
I'm not sure if they wanted to translate that or...
Would you like to translate?
Oh, I can translate my own, yeah. Quería felicitar a Rama y a Jennifer primeramente y darle las saludos a todos. Say Their Names, decir sus nombres, es una organización de gente acá que vive en Northfield, que nos reunimos luego del asesinato de George Floyd en Minneapolis. Nuestro objetivo fue y sigue siendo el ejercitar nuestro derecho cívico de denunciar el sistema racista que permite esta pérdida de vidas de gente de raza negra en este país. Desde junio del 2020 hemos realizado 20 intervenciones en el centro de Northfield, durante las cuales usamos tiza para escribir y reescribir los nombres de gente de raza negra que ha sido asesinada por la policía a través de los años. Sabemos que este gesto no puede reemplazar las muchas acciones que se necesitan para combatir el racismo sistémico y el rol que este juega en nuestras vidas, pero es una forma de hacer visible la pérdida de vidas y a la vez que queremos interrumpir esta sensación de tranquilidad un poco que se basa en el negar el dolor de otros. Now, Betsy.
The energy was somber as we wrote the names week after week. As we learned more about the lives of those killed, not only the horror of their deaths, we could feel the ripples of grief and pain that extended through their families and communities. In mid-July, after Representative John Lewis and Reverend C.T. Vivian died, we expanded our focus to include celebration of their lives and the many contributions of Black Americans, of civil rights activists and artists, of writers and teachers. And we continue to hold this tension between mourning lives cut short and celebrating lives lived fully. This tension between our outrage and our hope.
Mar, would you like to translate that before I speak?
Sure, or Cecilia, do you want to do it?
I'd rather not, but if I have to, I will.
I took notes. The only person that I missed is when John Lewis died. Who was the other person?
C.T. Vivian?
Reverend C.T. Vivian, yeah.
Okay, I got it. Lo que compartió también Betsy del trabajo que está haciendo el grupo de Say Their Names es que cuando empezaron a hacer las acciones siempre tenían una sensación de tristeza, una sensación de estar en un espacio muy triste. Y a partir del mediados del mes de julio, cuando murieron dos activistas muy importantes, John Lewis y C.T. Vivian, empezaron a hacer también incluir la celebración de sus vidas, la celebración de estos activistas tan importantes. Y siguen haciendo estas acciones con esta tensión entre que pasa desde estamos enojados y estamos tristes a estamos llenos de esperanza, y trabajan en los dos ámbitos. Go ahead.
Now, Eddie.
Okay, hello. Along with other people, I have helped to document the intervention at Bridge Square through video and photography, and I've been inspired to watch the care of the participants as they write each name and see the dedication of the artists as they work on portraits and all kinds of designs. We decide to shock because it is temporary medium, and for the same reason, we decide to document our actions. Through these photos and videos, we want to inspire others to take a stand against racism. We invite you to do something from your home or your town as we learn to live together as human beings, regardless of the color of our skin.
Eddie, ¿quieres traducir tú mismo?
Bueno, sí, puedo intentarlo. Bueno, la participación que yo tuve fue para documentar las intervenciones en Bridge Square. Yo tomé fotografías y video y me pude dar cuenta que la gente ponía mucho empeño y eso ayudaba a inspirar a los demás. Trabajaban en retratos de las personas y en diseños. Y nosotros decidimos hacerlo con tiza porque es algo temporal. Y por la misma razón decidimos también tenerlo en fotografías y video. Con esto nosotros tratamos de inspirar a más personas a que levanten su voz o hagan algo en contra del racismo. Y es por eso que los invitamos a que pueden hacer algo desde sus casas, desde sus ciudades, y aprender a vivir como humanos, sin importar el color de la piel.
Lisa.
As the weather has grown colder, we have had to move away from the chalk medium and explore alternative ways to celebrate Black lives and mourn Black deaths. Over the past 3 months, we have gathered in Bridge Square to read names, hold 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence for George Floyd, and distribute repurposed lawn signs with anti-racist messages. In the months that come, we will continue to gather in different formats, hopefully returning to chalking in the summer months. Last fall, we received a phone call from the Chief of Police informing us that there is a city ordinance against drawing with chalk on public sidewalks. We hope that the city will revisit to this ordinance in the near future, as our chalking has been a powerful and peaceful way for the community to come together in anti-racist solidarity. But more importantly, we hope that the city will support our broader purpose to call for an end to police violence against people of color. And I can try to interpret this. Mientras el clima se ha hecho más frío, hemos tenido que buscar otras maneras que no sean tiza para celebrar las vidas de personas negras y también lastimarlas o sentir la tristeza de las muertes de personas negras. Y durante los últimos 3 meses hemos reunido en Bridge Square para leer los nombres en voz alta, también para estar juntos por 8 minutos y 46 segundos de silencio para honrar a George Floyd y también distribuir señales para las yardas que hemos hecho con mensajes antirracistas. Y en los meses que vienen vamos a continuar a reunir en diferentes maneras y esperamos volver a usar tiza en las banquetas en el verano. El otoño pasado recibimos una llamada del jefe de policía de Norfield informándonos que hay como un city ordinance, una ley, casi una ley no exactamente, en contra de usar tiza en banquetas públicas. Esperamos que la ciudad pueda reconsiderar esto porque dibujar en tiza en comunidad ha sido una manera muy poderosa y pacífico, tranquilo para reunirnos en solidaridad antirracista, pero más importante, esperamos que la ciudad nos va a apoyar en el propósito más ancho general de terminar la violencia de la policía en contra de personas negras y de color.
Y Ricky, la última, last.
In order to write each name, when we were talking, I would say it over and over to myself to get it right, to get it by heart, to get it in my heart. When a new baby is born, the parents choose a name of all possible names to give to the child. That name is a promise to the baby that he or she can grow up to be someone as special as that name. But for the ones we are remembering, all that is lost. As we continue to remember, we have to hope that no more names will be added to that list. We all want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to share.
Thank you. Can we translate that?
Sí, Ricky lo que estaba diciendo es que cada vez que ella estaba aprendiendo un nombre nuevo y repasándoselo en su cabeza para recordarlo hasta que lo tuviera aprendido de memoria, era una forma también de poner ese nombre en su propio corazón. Y dice que cuando las familias, el papá y la mamá, reciben el nacimiento de un hijo, una de las primeras cosas que hacen es darles un nombre. Y al darles ese nombre es como una promesa que le hacen de vas a tener una vida para crecer, para tener un impacto en el mundo y en tu propia vida vas a ser una persona especial. Sin embargo, todas estas personas que estaban repasando sus nombres se les ha arrebatado esa parte, no pueden crecer para ser personas con todo su potencial. Y cada vez que hacían esta acción es un recuerdo de todo lo que se ha perdido al perder estas vidas. Y tenemos que constantemente hacer un llamamiento para que esto no siga ocurriendo, para que esto no siga ocurriendo en este país y en esta ciudad. Go ahead.
Thank you, and congratulations to everybody, and thank you for all the work you do. We are, if you want to, I'm giving you silent applause. Thank you. Nina, I'm turning it back to you.
Thank you. I like that silent applause. Wow. What a great town we live in. I feel so blessed. So now I'd like to introduce you to our keynote speaker for the evening. She is the principal at Bridgewater Elementary, Miss Nancy, or Mrs. Nancy Anton.
Ahora presentamos a Nancy Antoine, que es la persona que escogimos para hablar hoy.
Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome. I'm Nancy Antoine, the principal at Bridgewater Elementary School. I have been the principal here for the past 13 and a half years. I'm honored to have been asked to speak to you tonight on this prestigious day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The stories I share tonight are not intended to garner sympathy or pity, but to explain how broken we are as a state and country and the necessity to change. Many of you know my story. I was born Nancy Light, and I'm the second of 6 children born to a white mom and a black dad in a time when mixed marriages were not accepted nor supported. We lived in Lutzen, Minnesota, amongst the Swedes, Norwegians, and Scandinavians, and the Native Americans from Grand Portage. Our family was the only Black family at that time in Cook County. My Uncle John was the first Black sheriff of Minnesota, so I have no hatred toward the police. My great-grandparents were slaves. My grandparents came to Minnesota by boat from Pennsylvania, trying to avoid the coal mines and the side effects that come from working in a coal mine, such as black lung disease. My grandfather walked from Lutzen to Duluth, that's about 100 miles, to lay claim to a homestead of 100 acres in Lutzen. I cannot imagine making this entire journey knowing that you weren't wanted in this area to begin with and that harm could come to you at any time. The racism in Cook County was intense, and we were reminded daily that we didn't belong and we weren't wanted there. We grew up thinking we were the ugliest people in the world and we just didn't fit in. The school bus was one of my worst memories. My sisters and I rode the bus to Birch Grove Elementary School in Tofty. I remember holding my sister all the way to school. I was in 2nd grade at the time and she was in kindergarten because the older boys on the bus always picked on her and teased her so badly. They would spit on her and drive her to tears. We didn't have anyone on our side, nor laws to protect us. My elementary principal at the time had a talk with us one day and told us that we would just have to learn to deal with it. So we did. We came out swinging. You call me a racist name, I would ask you to stop, and then I would hit you. As a farm girl, I could pack a punch. I fought all the way through elementary school and then didn't need it after that. I learned in junior high that I could get a seat on the bus if I offered to help classmates with their math work. I love math, I still do, and could help them get their assignments done on the 20-mile bus trip to school. Without this, I struggled to get a seat on the bus every single day. I remember kids singing Linda Ronstadt's song to me on the bus, "You're no good, you're no good, you're no good." I simply cannot listen to this song even today. My sisters, brother, and I worked very hard in school. We knew the value of an education. We knew that if we didn't graduate from high school and go on to college, we would be stuck in Cook County, waiting tables or cleaning rooms, and that wasn't our aspiration. Our high school counselor was of no help. He told us, "You're kind, go to the military." Well, I was planning to go to a four-year college, not the military. I was graduating number 4 in my class and was looking toward obtaining my 4-year degree. I was offered a small scholarship to play volleyball in college and went to Rapid City, South Dakota to play at South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. I didn't realize how white South Dakota was at the time, and yet I was used to living in a white community. I remember traveling to Huron, South Dakota to play a game and having a teammate tell all of us on the bus, "You have to watch out for the black guys." Well, I confronted her on this since there was no threat from black guys in Huron. Again, there weren't very many, so they would stand out like a sore thumb. These comments were commonplace on a regular basis. I have found no replacement for hard work along the way. I have total control of how hard I work, and no one can take this away from me. I started my teaching career teaching middle school, high school, and vocational school in the inner city. I was a math teacher. I spent a lot of time talking with my students about setting goals and having a dream about what they wanted to achieve, because without a dream or a goal, things don't just fall into your lap. I also talk with my students about not letting racism be their excuse for failure. You have to give your 50% as well. Fast forward to 2020. COVID came to visit and has hit us all hard, and families of color have not fared well with the virus. Next came the murder of George Floyd. This was such a traumatic time for many of us. I watched the video knowing things like this happen all the time. This was different only because it was videoed for the whole world to see. Driving while black is apparently a crime. Being black in the wrong place is apparently a crime. This is sad, but so. The week of George Floyd's murder was such an unpeaceful week. I couldn't shake it and kept constantly thinking about my brother, who is 11 years younger than me. Heston is his name. He struggled living in Cook County and at one point was chased by a whole group of white boys trying to injure him. My dad died in front of him when he was 9 years old, so he grew up without a father. He just wanted to fit in. I knew what it was like to be a biracial female, but not a biracial male. He moved to the Twin Cities for his senior year and graduated. He got in with the wrong group trying to fit in. He was angry and hurt. He ended up committing a crime at the age of 19 and was sent to jail for 2 years. After the 2-year sentence, he never lived a free day again. He was constantly stopped by the police in Minneapolis. They would always yank him out of his car, have him spread eagle on the hood of his car or on the ground. He was beaten many times and never charged. They always made sure to grab his privates as a measure of humiliation. Heston was to the point of never going out at night due to his intense fear of the police. He always claimed that the Minneapolis Police Department was one of the biggest gangs in Minneapolis. The week of George Floyd's death, I texted Heston to find out if he was okay, if he needed a place to come. I was just so worried about him. He didn't text back, but that wasn't unusual. Late Friday night, 2 of my sisters knocked at my door around 10 o'clock. I was shocked because the one sister, she works on Friday nights at HCMC, so this was strange. They rushed upstairs to my mom lives with me, and then broke down telling us that Heston was gone. He was dead. My first thought was, oh no, the police finally got him. I was so relieved to learn that he died of natural causes. We're heartbroken that he passed, and yet we're comforted knowing that he didn't die at the hands of the police. Heston was my George Floyd. He could have easily been the one under the knee of the officer. Once again, I don't hate police. I just can't stand those who use their position to harm others. Many people don't realize that George Floyd's murder is a reflection of the many wrongs that have been done to people of color in our state and country. I had someone try to tell me that George Floyd was no angel. He had committed crimes and was probably high at the time of his death. I had to explain that none of this was punishable by public death. Black Lives Matter is an entire movement trying to make others understand that Black people are human and should be treated as such. Slavery brought about events in which Black people were bought and sold as a commodity, not a human being. They were treated worse than an animal, and their lives had no value whatsoever. They could be beaten, raped, lynched, killed, and tortured with no consequences. I can't even begin to imagine what they endured and how someone could purposefully whip someone else until their skin was hanging in shreds from their back. How many Black women were raped by white men as slaves? And we're going to claim that Black men are the only rapists that exist? I'm not buying that. Slavery came to an end in 1865, and yet Black people were still not truly free. The 13th Amendment grants freedom to all people except for criminals. This was a convenient loophole. You can find a lot of this information on the documentary 13th on YouTube. This explains how slavery was all part of having 4 million people, slaves, to support the economic system in the South. How could this possibly continue without slaves? After the Civil War, Black people were arrested en masse to support the rebuilding of the economy in the South. Remember that little loophole? That's where they fit in. In 1915, the Birth of a Nation film came out. The film depicted Black men as rapists and a threat to society. Black people were to be feared. This led to a brainwashing of many white people and the insurgents of the KKK being the justice system. This film was one more reason for white people to see and treat Black people as less than human. Other events such as segregation and Jim Crow led to the permanent second-class status of Black people. The civil rights movement actually became a human rights movement. Civil rights protesters were portrayed as criminals. You can see many parallels to the Black Lives Matter movement today. Black people wanting to be seen as human beings with lives that have value. Black people who wish to be understood and not criminalized. As you can imagine, the incarceration rates have exploded in the United States. In 1972, there were 300,000 prisoners in the United States. Today, there are 2.3 million. The United States makes up 5% of the world's population, and yet we have 25% of the world's prisoners. In a country based on freedom, we have 2.3 million people who are not free, and the majority of these people are people of color. The trauma is extreme in the Black community. The police have terrorized Black people for centuries in our country, and yet we have to ask why some are asking to defund the police departments. Many Black people are deathly afraid of the police. My own son had an experience with the police while at college. He was with 2 of his football teammates in a car at night. The white player was driving. Chris, my son, is biracial, and the other passenger was Black. They were riding in the white player's BMW and were pulled over for no infraction of the law. The white player was spoken to by the police. Chris was put into the police car, and they brought the dogs for the Black player. Chris was traumatized by this experience. He just couldn't understand why. Why would the dogs be called on for his friend? We've had to have so many conversations about race and racism in my house, especially with Chris being male. He has to be careful and watch what he does and where he goes, especially after dark. He has to know exactly what to do if and when he's pulled over. These conversations could mean the difference between life and death. Chris learned quickly that going out after dark while in invite police attention, and this was a sad fact. So how do we react given all this information? I still believe that a solid education is still the key to a better future. And education can take us to places that we can dream about. We need to work together to better understand each person as an individual and take the time to help others. We cannot do any of this alone. I find that it's best to turn a negative situation into a positive. If someone hurts me, I turn this into a positive by performing a random act of kindness for someone else. Staying hurt and negative doesn't serve anyone. It's best to be a positive light for someone else. I feel that I've been able to do this in my role as a principal. I'm able to stand in the gap for my students and be a role model for all my students, especially my girls and students of color. I am able to have authentic conversations with students, staff, and families about race. This all comes at a price, as you know. I have been sent hate mail. I've had my house vandalized. I've had my vehicles vandalized. I have wondered about quitting and leaving the community, and then I remember my school children. Who would stand up for them? This keeps me here and vigilant about my work. I feel that our students need to take advantage of the education that's being offered them. I hear many times that people want to give up in this distance learning environment and they need help motivating their children to learn. This pains me because we live in a place where education is provided free of charge to everyone, and yet not everyone wants to take advantage of this service. Students need to become good readers, writers, and know how to do math in order to be successful in life. These skills are necessary in every walk of life. I also think that we need to educate ourselves on the history of our country so that we can understand the wrongs that have been done. We have to understand our history so that we don't repeat what's been done. Together, we need to work on ending practices that divide us as a state and a country. We need to examine our practices that perpetuate racism. We need to understand the damage that has been done under the leadership of our country on purpose. And I'm not talking about current leadership. I'm talking about that from the past. We cannot expect our children to have a father when we can continue sending dad to prison with no hope of being released. Both parents are very important for the success of our children. Our prisons need to have a thorough cleaning done. Innocent people need to be released, and resentences need to be given to those who were snared in the 3 strikes and you're out time. I understand that the prison system is now an economic system, but we cannot have our people incarcerated in this free country. Once we understand and embrace the fact that Black lives matter, we will be able to reach the ultimate place where all lives will finally matter. I can't imagine the trauma that has been done with our children of our immigrants who have been locked up at our borders. That's created a whole additional issue that we will be dealing with. It's not just enough for us to not be racist. We must be anti-racist at all times, not just when it's convenient and comfortable. What is your call to action today? Thank you again for this invitation.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Bueno, I'm going to try to summarize because it might be too long in Spanish, but I'll do my best. La directora Nancy Antoine, que ha sido la presentadora nuestra hoy, ella lleva 13 años y medio de directora en la escuela de Bridgewater y está muy feliz de poder estar hablando esta noche aquí con todos nosotros. Ha compartido de su vida. Ella viene de una familia birracial. El padre es negro y la madre es blanca, y han vivido en la ciudad de Lutzen, en Minnesota. Y era una ciudad de muchísima gente blanca, muy poca gente de color y personas de raza negra. Y fue siempre muy difícil esa vida para ella. Dice que viene de sus bisabuelos eran personas esclavas, los abuelos vinieron a esta región de Minnesota escapando a las minas del sur, y tiene un tío que fue el primer sheriff negro de la región de Minnesota donde vivían. Y por eso ella no odia a los policías, porque lo tenía en su propia familia. Y lo que pasa que dice que fue muy difícil cuando iba en el autobús, cuando era muy pequeña, en 2º grado, y su hermanita era de kindergarten, que les escupían, que les decían todo tipo de insultos, que ella le decían, ¿no?, en la escuela, tienes que aprender a defenderte, tienes que aguantarte y seguir adelante. Entonces ella aprendió muy temprano el poder de la educación. Ella sabía que esa iba a ser su vía para salir de esa región y de esa historia en esa región de Minnesota donde vivía. Y también se dio cuenta que le gustaban mucho las matemáticas y que la dejaban sentarse en el autobús si les ayudaba a los otros estudiantes a hacer su tarea de matemáticas. Dice que consiguió una beca para ir a la universidad en la Dakota del Sur, y que allí le pasó lo mismo. Era muy poca gente de raza negra con muchísima gente blanca, y también era muchísimo racismo pero ella trabajó muchísimo hasta que se convirtió en una maestra de matemáticas, que le encantaba siempre las matemáticas. Y así lo que consiguió hacer es, a través de su clase como maestra, ayudar a todos los estudiantes que llegaban a su clase. Luego, con el tiempo, pues ahora está aquí de directora, llegó COVID, hemos visto que las familias de raza negra, las personas latinas son las que más están muriendo. Luego vino la muerte, el asesinato por parte de la policía de George Floyd, y fue una cosa terrible para ella. Eso se refiere mucho al trauma que ya sufre la comunidad negra. Es de las personas que más están encarceladas en este país, son las personas de raza negra, y hay muchísimos, es un imperio lo que se ha creado con la cuestión de encarcelar a la gente, sobre todo de raza negra, que pierden sus derechos y están ahí muchas veces por crímenes que realmente no son cosas que deberían estar en la cárcel. Dice que con toda esta historia pueden ver un documental que se llama 13, que habla de todas estas leyes que, a pesar de que terminó la esclavitud, cómo la gente negra sigue siendo discriminada y sufriendo todo el racismo que están sufriendo aquí. Dice que recientemente su propio hijo lo vio en carne propia, porque el hijo de ella también es birracial como ella. Iba en un coche con otros compañeros, un chico era blanco, otro chico era negro, y cuando se acercó la policía que los detuvo, cuando iban en el coche manejando, pues la policía habló con el chico blanco y les lanzó los perros al chico negro. Entonces el hijo de Nancy se quedó muy impresionado, ¿no? de por qué pasa eso, por qué le trataron tan mal a mi compañero y amigo. Entonces ella recalca mucho la importancia de la educación, de cómo eso es lo que nos va a liberar y lo que nos va a conseguir crecer como comunidad. Y también comparte que ella tiene un hermano que ha tenido un montón de problemas con la policía en Minneapolis, porque estaba ya traumatizado por lo mal que les trataban en su lugar. Además vio cómo se moría su padre, creció sin padre, porque tiene 11 años de diferencia con Nancy, y que la noche que murió, que asesinaron a George Floyd, en esa noche le llamó y no lo podía encontrar, y entonces supieron que se había muerto. Y la primera cosa que ellos pensaron, le ha pasado algo, le ha dicho algo a la policía. Pero no fue ese el caso, sino que murió de causas naturales, y ellos como que respiraron más tranquilos al saber que no había muerto a manos de la policía en ese acoso tan terrible, ¿no? Y ella termina, lo que ha terminado diciendo es que varias veces le ha ocurrido también aquí en Northfield, que le han enviado, como algunos ya saben, le han enviado cartas de odio por ser una mujer de raza negra en Northfield. También le han hecho daño a sus carros y a su casa, y que muchas veces ha pensado, debería irme, debería mudarme a otro lugar, pero que sigue aquí porque ella sabe que está ayudando a los estudiantes, que está ayudando a las familias que llegan a su escuela, y con la capacidad que tiene de hablar de problemas de raza y de conversaciones sobre el racismo de una forma abierta y honesta con toda la gente. Y por eso sigue aquí, hasta que no, y lo que acaba diciendo es que hasta que no respetemos a todas las vidas, incluidas las vidas de raza negra, y todo el movimiento de Black Lives Matter, que es un movimiento que es similar a un movimiento que también se hizo cuando acabó la esclavitud, porque esto sigue siendo parte de la historia de este país, que lo más importante es que aprendamos todos qué podemos hacer en esta actividad antirracista. No es simplemente decir no soy antirracista, sino qué voy a hacer. Y también estaba mencionando que no pueden ni entender lo que deben estar sufriendo todos estos niños que han separado en la frontera, y que hay que cambiar estos circuitos de poder racistas que hay en este país, en toda la historia que hemos visto durante tantas décadas. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. So now we are going to move to the open microphone portion of our event this evening. I'd like to ask if you have a statement or a memory to share. We'd like to ask that you please turn on your camera, raise your hand, use the icon if you have it. If not, just physically raise your hand like this. We will unmute your mic, and then everyone will have 2 to 3 minutes max to speak. So we can take Beth, if you'd like to help me with the first person.
Ahora vamos a tomar un tiempo para abrir el micrófono. Si tienen algo que decir o una historia que compartir, 2 o 3 minutos y pedimos que prendan su cámara y pongan el micrófono, que alcen la mano si quieren hablar. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ronnie. We'll just give people a few minutes. If you feel inspired to share, please feel free to do so. And if not, that's okay too.
At this time, I don't see hands or cameras on. And then will we have time at the end of the program to come back to this, or is this the only time?
Well, this is pretty much the time. And it looks like Mara maybe had something she wanted to share.
Yeah.
She's so tiny.
Not interpreting, but participating in the open mic. And I would like to say that many times we forget that Martin Luther King Jr. was very much reviewing what the capitalist system and the economic system we have does to people. And he was always on the side of people wanting unions, wanting better job conditions, and we clearly haven't achieved this. And COVID has shown very much that we have in a very unequal society in terms of access to better jobs and better job conditions. So that dream of his of changing those structures is really much not being made, and we have to be more intentional of how we change the economic system so it benefits everybody. And I can translate. Lo que estaba diciendo es que muchas veces se olvida que Martin Luther King Jr., además de trabajar en justicia social y justicia racial, lo que también decía es que tenemos un sistema capitalista y económico que no beneficia a las personas y que tenemos que seguir cambiando este sistema para que realmente las personas tengan mejores condiciones de trabajo, mejor acceso a trabajos mejores, y desde luego la época esta de COVID, de la pandemia, está mostrando que hay muchísima desigualdad, y es el sueño de Martin Luther King Jr. de cambiarlo y de que sea más justo todavía no se ha realizado y tenemos que seguir trabajando en ello. Gracias. Thank you.
So Mar, before it looks like a lot of people are leaving, we do have a short video presentation that we would like to share as well before. So I just noticed the number of people leaving. If you'd like to stick around, we'd love for you to stick around for that as well.
Se nota que hay mucha gente que se está yendo, nada más queremos dejarles saber que sí tenemos un video que queremos compartir y que vamos a compartir después de el micrófono abierto. Gracias.
And I will share my screen here and we'll get that video up in just a moment.
I think Susie wanted to share.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Susie.
Yep.
You go ahead.
Susie, I think you are.
Yep, got it. Thanks, everybody. I just wanted to say a quick word of thanks to what a moving evening and celebration of Martin Luther King's legacy. Really, thank you so much. And I also just want to say I've been on the City Council for almost 12 years, and I've seen us evolve as a community, and in no small part due to the leadership and vision and the perseverance of your commission. So it's a long arc of justice, right? Bend slowly toward the good. But I'm inspired, and I thank you all. Let's keep it up. We've got our work to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, this is Joan. Can you hear me? Can you hear Joan? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not on camera and I don't want to be, but I wanted to add my thanks to all of you who organized or spoke, and whose wonderful contributions to community and to issues of justice, you know, I'm learning about for the first time. I am so inspired by not only the personal narratives and the powerful speech that I just heard about discrimination and injustice in the the story of Nancy and Antoine. Is that how you say her name? But I am very moved by how many young people are thinking beyond themselves, sacrificing in lots of ways, and growing in leadership and generosity and an optimism, along with skill that they can carry into powerful positions later on in life. I just want to say thank you. And I want to just again thank the organizers of this event.
Thank you, Joan.
Ronnie, do you translate or I do? Susie and Joan? Okay.
Okay. So habló Susie y Susie compartió que agradecimiento a la ciudad, que dice que ella trabaja para la ciudad y a través de los años ella ha visto cómo ha evolucionado nuestra ciudad, y gracias a los trabajos del grupo de derechos humanos y nada más la inspiración que agarró de la noche hoy. Did I miss something more?
No, it's good.
Y también Joan Hepburn también compartió su agradecimiento e inspiración con la juventud que ha participado este año en soportar los movimientos, el activismo este año. Y la inspiración de lo que compartió Nancy. I think I got it all.
Good job.
Thank you.
Nina,
Looks like
do
that's
you?
it for the comments? Yes.
So I just would like to share. So this video is a compilation of pictures submitted by people in our community and from some past MLK events. And that the music, the song recording that you'll be hearing is from the Voices of Hope Choir from the Minnesota Correctional Facility in Shakopee, conducted by Amanda Weber. And hopefully this will work.
We
thanks again, everyone, for coming. I hope you have a great night. Thank you. I don't know if commission members want to say something. Feel free.
Gracias a todos por venir hoy. Que tengan bonita noche y si otros miembros de la comisión quieren decir algo, tienen el espacio.
If anybody else wants to share anything more before we go, we still have a few minutes. Si alguien quiere compartir algo antes de que terminemos, tienen todavía unos minutos.